Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Kingston Frontenacs rookie forward Mitchell Brooks. Mitchell, welcome to the Pagcast. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
In your most recent game that you played, it was a 5-2 loss against the North Bay Battalion, but you finished the game with 1 assist and a +1 rating. How would you rate your individual performance?
I think that game it was a good game. Our line we played a good all around game, and obviously it wasn't the greatest result. A tough loss like two against a solid North Bay team this year, but you win some and lose some, then you just gotta kind of get back on the board and get ready for next game and try and get those 2 points.
You're going up against Ty Nelson, who is a first overall draft pick, and he actually got selected to the top prospects game. So, as a forward like yourself, what's it like going up against a top tier defender in the league?
Obviously he's a previous first overall pick in the OHL and a projected first, second rounder in the NHL. So he's obviously a great player. A tough player to go against. Small, really tough, competes on every shift. Puts up a lot of points, and yeah, he's really great player, and is going to be a star of this league.
What are you going to do to better yourself on and off the ice in the home stretch of this season?
I think the most important thing is just trying to get better every day. Staying on the ice extra time, doing extra reps in the gym, and I'm lucky enough with my team, obviously, to have guys like Shane Wright, Zaid Wisdom, Marin Chromiak, Jordan Frasca, Lucas Edmonds. I can name a bunch of guys, but try and look up to those guys, see what they're doing, sees what they're doing to succeed, and kind of just emulate them and do what they do.
How has being back in the arena with fans this season brought a sense of normalcy back into your life?
It's definitely pretty great because in my minor midget year, I played no more than 5 games with zero fans, and it's pretty straight up that just sports with no fans. It's not the greatest, but having Kingston's got some unreal fans, and having them be at the games buzzing and cheering us on, it's pretty amazing. It's a great feeling.
Well, I went to the game Kingston was here, and so I'm in Ottawa doing school right now. And I went to the earlier game. I think it was in October, November when you guys were playing Ottawa here, and Marin Chromiak scored the lacrosse goal for his hat trick. That was a nasty man. Oh, I'm so happy I got to witness that. So yeah, from one guy to the next here, we're both grateful that fans were back in the building to see that goal.
Yeah, special goal by a special player, and it was definitely fun. It was fun watch. I've never seen a Michigan goal live, so it was pretty incredible to watch that.
And it was so fluid as well. It's not it's like he just went around the net and just picked it up on his stick, and it was in the back of the net. It's not like he stopped behind the net to control it first.
Yeah, he already had 2 goals in that game. Everything was kind of going his way. He had like 7 shots, and I don't know, it was perfect timed, and he executed it.
When sports were postponed during March of 2020, what did you do? What did you do during that time? Because that would have been an extended off season for you.
I did, tons of stuff, trying to skate, get in the gym every day, shooting pucks at home, going for runs, basically just doing everything I can to make myself better and kind of get prepared for whatever games that I didn't even know I was gonna play, just getting ready for whatever games I had coming up.
And how did the pandemic affect you, mentally there? Because you spoke a lot about getting into the gym, doing extra reps on and off the ice. And I know for me, my parents are divorced. So I was kind of lucky in a sense because I had to be separated from my mom because she was an ICU nurse. So she sees the sickest of the sick patients. And by luck there, obviously my parents are split up. So I had to spend a good portion of the original pandemic with my dad. But so given that context, how did the pandemic affect you mentally?
I think it's fair to say the pandemic affected everyone mentally. It's being stuck inside for days and days. Kind of losing motivation. Losing like your shape, and it was definitely tough. But you got to be resilient. You got to think for the better. Think about the future, about how hopefully this is all going to get better, and you want to be in the best shape and the best version of ready that you can be for whenever you got to step back on the ice.
Getting into your, I guess more positive questions here and into a bit of your story of who you are, was there a player growing up who you wanted to model your game after?
Um, I don't really have one specific player who I like try to model my game after. But I love taking different things from different players, kind of like the hands and IQ of Patrick Kane, and I really like Austin Matthews' shot release. But I think when I was a kid, I always looked up to Jack Eichel and Sidney Crosby. Those were kind of my two guys, and Buffalo being right around the corner from our hometown of Burlington, I always went to the Sabres games, and I think I got like three Eichel jerseys at home, and it's kind of bittersweet that he's off to Vegas now, but I'm sure he'll tear it up there, and he's still like my favorite player to this day.
Well, thankfully, those tickets were cheap because of how awful Buffalo has been in the last
Oh,
decade.
oh yeah,
I mean, I know for me, I always go to Buffalo because they are cheap tickets. The Leaf
oh,
games cost
it's
so
just
much,
as good.
so
It's
you can
just as
get.
good as it's just as good as a Leafs game because the crowd's so into it, and the Bills and the Sabres, they're huge. They're huge in Buffalo. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been to one Bills game, and it was a great experience. I hope to go back soon.
oh yeah,
And like I would love to jump through a table with Bills Mafia. I'm a huge Bills fan. I got my Rams hat on, but that's who I
oh
was just
yeah,
going for in the Super Bowl.
oh
Bills fan at heart, and I was very sad about the playoff performance and how it all
yeah,
ended.
yeah.
Uh,
Allen can't seem to figure out Mahomes yet, but
I know they're 0-2 in the playoffs, and they're
yeah,
0-2, especially in Kansas City. So if somehow the Bills can get, the game in Buffalo, it could be a different story. Growing up in Ontario, who was your favorite NHL team? Because you were just backing off the kind of idea about you having so many Eichel jerseys, going to Buffalo for the Sabres games. So who was your favorite NHL team?
I love the Leafs. They're definitely one of my teams, but I'm a Sabres fan at heart. I've been a Sabres fan ever since I was pretty little, and I just always love the Sabres, always love the town, and yeah, I got to go with the Sabres.
It's funny because I have a lot of stories of just going to Sabres games. Like it's wild. I've met a couple of Habs players because one time my dad and I found out where the visiting team stays.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, so we take the whole day off and like go to Buffalo, like leave earlyish in the morning to get to Buffalo to avoid the traffic, obviously, because we all know how the border,
oh yeah,
how
that's
busy the border can be, right? So we want to avoid that. So that's why we leave early in the morning, and then we find out that the visiting team stays at an arena just down the road, or not at an arena,
yeah,
at a hotel just down the road.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's like right connected to the rink.
yeah, it's the Marriott. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's where the visiting team stays, and I've gotten a photo with Jason Spezza, who's really
Oh,
cool. I
that was
It's funny because I met him in an elevator.
yeah,
It's just so cool, and these guys aren't even protected by security guards. Like they're just walking out in the public. It's crazy.
yeah. One time, so I was staying at the hotel overnight, and I think Kane, Carolina was in town, and we were in the elevator, and we saw Aho and Teravainen get in an elevator together. So that was
That's
pretty cool.
wild.
Yeah, it was pretty insane.
It gets backing off that idea. Like I was me and my dad after because I'm a Habs fan. He's a Sabres fan. And we usually go to at least one or two Buffalo Montreal games a year.
Yeah,
And we got interviewed by some local Buffalo station afterwards.
really.
Yeah, and we were trying to find the interview out like the day after, but we couldn't find it. We didn't know where it was posted.
Oh,
Because like we were walking to the car after the game, and it was when Jeff Skinner scored the overtime winner. I think it was when they were on their usual 8-game winning streak that they usually have at the start of October there.
really?
Um, and next thing you know, I see these bright lights coming out of the left, like my left eye, and then this guy just shoves a microphone in our faces. I'm like, oh my god,
That's pretty.
it was really unexpected.
I've been to a couple Sabres in Montreal games. Like they're pretty electric. So
Well, it's always a home game for the other team. That's how I
oh
like to
yeah,
see it.
oh yeah.
You are a product of the Burlington Eagles program. How have they contributed to your development?
I'll be honest. The Burlington Eagles have definitely helped contribute to my development and growth as a person. One thing I can say is I've had some really brilliant coaches and brilliant minds out of the Burlington Eagles, and obviously stuff happens with organizations and teams, but I do definitely have a lot of positive things to say about that organization, and the people and the friends I met in there.
You got an opportunity to play with the Toronto Titans for both or for your U15 season. How did they help you become a more mature player?
Oh well, I was lucky enough to be coached by one of the greatest leagues of all time, being Darcy Tucker, and he just taught me so much about the game. What to do, what not to do, and he definitely was a big part in my development and growth as a player.
That must have been incredible, just picking the mind of a former NHL player, NHL star.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. He's got some funny stories, but what an amazing guy, an amazing coach.
That season was obviously shortened. So what do you remember from your last game with the Titans?
Well, I don't like to think about it, but it was our last game in the playoffs. We had a tough loss to Markham, and that was the last game we played of that season. So
Was there talk of oh well, obviously that was the okay, so I'll scratch that question because I'm an idiot there. But I'll actually add on to that. So since it was the last game of the playoffs there, do you have any playoff superstitions? Did you develop any playoff superstitions?
My playoff superstitions are just kind of like my regular superstitions. I could go on forever and ever and ever about them, and I got a couple crazy ones, but I got the ones like I go always have to be hydrated. Got to tape my sticks before every game. Do certain warm ups, and just hockey players are such creatures in the things they do. It's once they develop something and find out that it works, they just keep doing it over and over again.
So are you kind of like a right side, dress the right side first? I know there's a lot
Left,
of people that actually draft
left
the
side
left
for
side.
me. For me, it's left side
Yeah,
first.
left side. Yeah, left side seems to be the popular side of everything.
Yeah.
During the shutdown, how did you remain in game shape since all the rinks in Ontario were basically closed?
Yeah, honestly, as soon as our season ended, it was kind of like, all right, get ready for the off season, get ready for next season, minor midget season coming up. And I actually got to skate a fair bit amount after the season ended, but then there was that shutdown for like a month. Like you couldn't even like go for a walk. So I just kind of going for runs, and I live in the country, so I got a nice hill and a nice trail, going for runs, working out in my basement, shooting pucks, just doing whatever I can to stay in game shape.
Looking at the WHL and the QMJHL, did you feel kind of left out or even jealous that you weren't able to get any kind of game action in? Because with the dub and the Q, they were able to get, some sort of a regular season in.
Yeah, obviously, like during my minor midget year, I didn't really miss out on the opportunity playing the OHL like all the O4s did. So you definitely got a feel for them. They had a lot to prove and wanted to come in strong for their first year in the O, and they obviously missed out on that opportunity. And I gotta say, I'm kind of grateful I was a year later. I'm a year younger, and I didn't really miss any chances to play in the OHL. But we lost a minor midget season and all those the top prospects game, and even just like the draft. Basically,
All bad things considered, one of the greatest things to come from the shutdown was actually getting drafted by the Kingston Frontenacs. Could you share the story of Shane Wright coming to your house and personally delivering the Fronts jersey with your name on the back of it?
uh, you know, um, it was honestly surreal, to have a guy like of that character and that attitude, and someone obviously a lot of people look up to, including myself. It was pretty surreal. I was with my family, and I saw Shane walking down the stairs with the jersey, and it was just kind of took my breath away. And it wasn't a jersey with my name on it yet. It was just one of his he wanted to try on, and it was an unreal feeling and a day I definitely will never forget. And we still talk about it and have a good laugh about it.
Well, it must also be, special since he does live from, he is from
Five
Burlington, our
minutes,
hometown there.
5 minutes away, just a neighborhood away.
You were taken in a star-studded draft with the likes of Oliver Bonk, Easton Cowan, and Luca Pinelli. What's it like for you to be recognized with those names?
Oh yeah, a bunch those names you just named. Obviously, a bunch of great players, and you got so many other great players out there, and just to be considered in that kind of category, it's definitely a nice compliment and very humbling. But it just makes you want to work even harder, and so one day, your name can be ahead of that category. But it's definitely a big honor because those are some great players.
With all the postponements going on for every team, how does that affect your game day routine?
It's weird. We were supposed to be getting game prep for a game against Owen Beck and the Mississauga Steelheads today, but we found out yesterday night that that's gonna be that was canceled. So it's definitely weird. It definitely screws up a lot for the team and practices and everything. But you just kind of got to take it one day at a time and realize that that game getting canceled is getting rescheduled. So just got to focus on the next game that's coming up.
It's the ebbs and flows of the season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What are you hoping to accomplish as this season progresses, whether that's a personal goal or a team goal?
For me personally, obviously with very depth and I want to say stacked team, just kind of getting better every single day and stepping into a good place for next year with my NHL draft year. But I don't really like to jinx these type of things or speak too soon, but I think we do definitely have a Memorial Cup caliber team, and I think to win that would be the greatest accomplishment ever because that's obviously a pretty special trophy, and I really do believe that we have the team and coaching to do that.
What has been the biggest adjustment for you since you're a rookie in the OHL?
I would say the biggest adjustment is definitely just the speed and the pace the game's played at. 16-year-olds, you don't really look at much minutes or much ice time with for like me and guys especially because of the team. But you got to make every moment at practice get used to play against the older guys that are bigger, faster, and stronger than you. And yeah, I would say definitely that it's definitely the pace and the strength of all the opposing guys.
What do you remember from your first OHL game against the Steelheads?
Oh, we lost. It wasn't too great. I think we lost. We were down 7-0 going into the third period. Just everything was going the wrong way. But we ended up scoring 2 goals there late in the third. But it was obviously an incredible experience to play your first game in the OHL, but bittersweet because it wasn't the way we wanted it to turn out.
Yeah, you obviously want to, win your first OHL game, and for you to get blown out by the third period, it's kind of a really terrible feeling.
Oh, it was awful. Usually after your first OHL game, you want to be celebrating a win, getting excited with all the boys, but I don't think there was a word said in that dressing room after.
How has Shane Wright played a leadership role this season, and does it help that you guys are from the same hometown?
Shane Wright's he's just a natural captain. He's just a natural leader with everything he does on the ice, how he speaks, how he talks, even how he like runs his team. He's just a natural leader, and we do have like a let's say like a close connection because we're from the same town. We know similar stuff, and yeah, it definitely helps having being comfortable around him and having a buddy that's literally 5 minutes down the road. So
You are so your team is 25, 12, and 3. What's it like to play against some of the top talent in the league in the Eastern Conference, such as Mason McTavish with Hamilton and even Owen Beck, like you mentioned, friend of the show in Mississauga?
those games are just the one that get you on your feet all excited. The games against Hamilton, North Bay, Mississauga. There's a ton of great teams out there, and being to watch that high caliber talent and playing those games. It's the ones why you play hockey, the ones that makes you so excited and just makes the win like 1,000 times better.
If you were to play another sport, what would it be?
Um, I would probably have to go with soccer or basketball. I really like basketball. I played school my whole life, and then soccer. I love soccer. I played it my whole life. At one point I was debating on quitting hockey and pursuing soccer. I was pretty good at it, and I don't know. It's probably a good idea that I kept with hockey.
So does the team play sewer a lot then?
Oh, every before every game and sometimes before every practice, but as a rookie per se, you don't really get to win sewer, but there's definitely a couple guys that are really good at sewer on the team.
Who has been the hardest team to go against this season?
I'm saying Hamilton for sure because with him, obviously with McTavish, but you also have guys like George Diaco, Avery Hayes, Logan Morrison, even Ryan Winterton's back now, and they just acquired Arbor Jacki from Kitchener. They're just a pain to play against, and they always give us a game every time we have a tilt.
What's your favorite arena to travel to?
My favorite arena is definitely the TD Place, the Ottawa rink. I just love it. I love the vibe in the town. I love the rink. I love the design of it and how it's like right under the Red Blacks field.
It is
I just
really weirdly placed. Like I have to
it
say.
is, but I just love it, and I think it's an awesome barn.
I've really experienced the Bulldogs because that's really the only because I was being from Burlington, that's one of the
Yeah,
closest teams, right? So
yeah.
going to the 67s arena at first was really weird. Seeing like
Oh
how it's
yeah,
all laid out with like the scoreboard, it's not like in the middle where it usually is, it's
yeah.
on
And
a
the thing is,
facing wall.
Hamilton's so big, so
Oh yeah, I know. Well, I mean,
yeah,
actually, the rink was built for an NHL team, but they never
yeah.
got it.
I know it's crazy.
As we're oh sorry,
No,
okay.
yeah, I was just saying it's crazy. It's so big. Like it kind of looks like dead whenever like the Bulldogs still get a good amount of fans at the games, but it looks dead just because of how much space there is.
Well, yeah, they close off the upper section. I'm like, why are
Yeah.
you closing that off?
Yeah.
You can literally, sell out so many more seats and they
Oh
aren't
yeah,
using it. It's really weird.
for sure.
As we're closing off this interview here, do you have any advice for younger hockey players?
As the only advice I can give is just keep working hard and try and be better every day. I know for a fact as a kid growing up, I faced a lot of adversity in my first couple years being the last pick on Double A, getting told I was only picked just because I was friends with the coach and just try and get better every day and just kind of block out all the outside noise because if there's always going to be people hating on you and there's always going to be people supporting us, so you just got to stay true to your word, do just love the game and make sure you're always having fun, because if you're not having fun, then don't be playing hockey, go do something else, but because it truly is the best game in the world and just got to work at it.
I like to thank Mitchell Brooks for joining me on today's podcast. Thank you again, Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.